The airport was buzzing with energy that morning. People rushed to their gates, dragging their luggage through crowded terminals. The loudspeaker echoed throughout the building, announcing flights and gate changes, while the sounds of countless conversations filled the air, blending into a cacophony of different languages. The place was full of life, moving at an almost frantic pace as everyone rushed to catch their flights. But amid the chaos of busy travelers, there was one person who stood out, though not because of any attention-grabbing presence. Jackie Chan stood in the first-class line, waiting patiently, calm and composed as if he didn't have a care in the world. While everyone around him seemed caught up in the hurry and excitement, he remained serene, unfazed by the busy surroundings. Jackie wasn't wearing anything special. No fancy clothes, no high-end accessories. He wore simple, comfortable clothes, perfect for a long flight. His backpack looked well-worn, as though it had traveled with him on countless adventures. There was nothing about him that screamed movie star or celebrity. He was just another passenger waiting for his turn to board. Behind him stood Henry Kong, a successful business executive who firmly believed that image was everything. Henry wore an expensive suit, likely worth more than most people's entire monthly salary. His watch gleamed under the airport lights, and his leather briefcase looked pristine as if it had never seen a scratch. Henry was the type of person who put a lot of effort into maintaining an image of success, a person who believed that first class was a space reserved for people like him, people who looked the part. Henry couldn't help but stare at Jackie, his eyes narrowing. He thought to himself, someone like him doesn't belong here. To him, first class wasn't just about having a ticket. It was about looking successful, wearing expensive clothes, and carrying yourself like a person who belonged to that exclusive world. Jackie, with his simple attire, didn't meet any of those standards. Henry had worked hard to get where he was, and he didn't like seeing someone so ordinary standing in the same line as him. Finally, Henry couldn't hold it in anymore. He cleared his throat loudly and said, "First class? They really let anyone buy tickets these days, don't they?" Jackie turned around slowly, a gentle smile spreading across his face. "Yes, first class," he said softly. "It's a long flight ahead." Henry wasn't satisfied with Jackie's calm response. He wanted to make sure Jackie understood his point, so he continued with more emphasis. "You know, some people work very hard to earn their place here," Henry said, his voice louder. "It's not just about having enough money to buy a ticket. You actually have to earn it. Some people get here because of their hard work." Jackie, still smiling, listened politely. "Everyone has their own journey," he replied simply. His calmness seemed to irritate Henry even more. Henry was used to people either getting angry or feeling embarrassed when he talked down to them, but Jackie wasn't reacting in the way Henry expected. He wasn't getting upset or uncomfortable. Instead, Jackie was calm and composed, as if Henry's words didn't bother him at all. And that, more than anything, seemed to annoy Henry. As they started to board the plane, Henry kept muttering under his breath, making little sarcastic comments loud enough for people nearby to hear. "Standards really aren't what they used to be," he muttered, thinking Jackie wouldn't hear him. But what Henry didn't realize was that other passengers were watching the interaction. Some recognized Jackie but stayed silent out of respect. Others just admired how gracefully Jackie handled Henry's rudeness. When they finally made it to their seats, Henry couldn't believe his eyes. Jackie was sitting right next to him. For the next 12 hours they would be sharing a space, sitting side by side. Henry's jaw dropped as he looked at the seat assignment. He tried his best to ignore Jackie, but the silence between them felt awkward. It was like sitting next to someone who had a peaceful aura, making Henry feel uncomfortable, as if he had a mirror sitting beside him, showing him all the things he didn't like about himself. As the flight began, a flight attendant walked down the aisle, offering drinks. She stopped at Henry first. "Would you like some champagne, sir?" she asked with a warm smile. "The most expensive one you have, please," Henry said, making sure to emphasize the word expensive as if he were proving something. He glanced at Jackie as if to make sure he knew that Henry was someone who could afford the finest things. The flight attendant nodded and then turned to Jackie, who had been quietly observing the exchange. "And for you, sir?" she asked. "Just green tea, thank you," Jackie replied with a smile that was as warm as ever. Henry raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by Jackie's choice. "That's it?" he said, not trying to hide his disbelief. "Just tea? You're in first class. You're supposed to enjoy the luxury, the fine champagne, the food. But I guess some people don't know how to appreciate the finer things in life." Jackie took a sip of his tea and turned to Henry with a gentle expression. "Sometimes the simplest things bring the most joy," he said quietly. "My grandmother used to say that true luxury is being at peace with yourself." Henry's frustration grew. Philosophy from someone who probably just got lucky. He muttered under his breath. Let me tell you something about success, he said, pulling out his business card as if the mere presence of it would impress Jackie. He proudly showed Jackie his title, CEO of a major company. I worked my way up. I earned my place here. I deserve to be in first class. Some people, they just got lucky. But for me, success is earned. Jackie looked at the business card, his expression still calm. Very impressive, he said, nodding slightly. You must work very hard. Henry smiled, proud of himself. Exactly, he said. I worked hard to get where I am. Some people just get lucky, but I worked for this. He looked Jackie up and down, noticing his simple clothes. Look at how you're dressed. This isn't some bus ride. This is first class. You have to act like you belong here. Jackie listened quietly, his face serene. Then, with the same calm voice, he said, Success isn't about what you wear or how much money you have. It's about how many lives you make better with your actions. A couple sitting across the aisle nodded in agreement, clearly recognizing the wisdom in Jackie's words. Henry, feeling a flush of embarrassment, looked around and realized that he was no longer the center of attention. His earlier arrogance seemed to be fading, replaced by discomfort. He wasn't used to people disagreeing with him, especially in such a calm and polite manner. The people around him were starting to see things differently, and he was starting to feel foolish. Henry, trying to regain control, shot back, What have you done with your life? What's your great contribution to the world? He was trying to provoke Jackie to make him seem less impressive. Jackie smiled gently, unfazed by Henry's question. I've tried my best to make people happy, he said. Sometimes through movies, sometimes through martial arts, and sometimes just by being kind to someone who needs it. Henry, still not believing it, laughed. Movies? Martial arts? You're just making things up now. He was still trying to mock Jackie, but deep down something was changing. Jackie was starting to get under his skin, not with anger or frustration but with kindness. Just then the flight attendant came back with blankets for the passengers. She stopped at Jackie's seat, handing him a blanket with extra care. Mr. Chan, she said, smiling warmly. The captain wanted me to personally thank you for the amazing speech you gave at his daughter's school last month about bullying. It really changed her life. The entire first-class cabin fell silent. Henry's face turned pale as he suddenly realized who Jackie was. Chan? He whispered in disbelief. Jackie nodded simply. Yes, that's me, he said with a smile. But please don't let that change anything. We were having such an interesting conversation about success. Henry sank into his seat, his face turning a deep shade of red. He wanted to disappear. All his earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced by shame and embarrassment. He looked around, realizing that other passengers were watching him with disapproval. Some were shaking their heads while others were smiling, almost as if karma had just come full circle. I didn't, Henry began, stammering, but he didn't know how to continue. He felt like he had lost all his dignity. It's okay, Jackie said kindly, still calm as ever. Maybe this is a good chance for both of us to learn something. You taught me about working hard to earn success, and maybe I can teach you that true success isn't about proving you're better than others. The rest of the flight became a quiet, reflective space for both of them. Henry began to realize that maybe he had been chasing the wrong things all along. He had spent so much of his life focused on proving himself, on showing others that he was successful, that he had forgotten what success was really about. It wasn't about money or status, it was about kindness, about how you treated others. Jackie, with his calm presence, had shown him that there was more to life than just winning. Later, when the plane hit some turbulence, Jackie helped calm a nervous passenger sitting across the aisle, using techniques he had learned from years of meditation. The passenger looked relieved and grateful, and Henry couldn't help but watch Jackie, amazed at how effortlessly he helped others. I've done a lot of dangerous stunts in movies, Jackie explained to Henry later, but the real bravery isn't in not being afraid. It's in facing your fears and still choosing to be kind. As the plane began its descent and the seatbelt signs turned on, Henry reflected on the entire flight. For the first time in years, he hadn't checked his emails or taken any business calls. He had been fully present in the moment, listening, learning, and reflecting. When the plane finally landed, Henry turned to Jackie. Mr. Chan, he said softly. I need to tell you something. When this flight started, I thought I was better than you. I thought I had worked harder and earned my place here. But you've taught me more about success in these few hours than I've learned in all my years in business. Jackie placed a hand on Henry's shoulder, giving him a warm smile. Then you've already learned the most important lesson, he said. True respect isn't demanded. It's earned not through power or money but through how we treat others. As they disembarked from the plane, Jackie took a moment to help an elderly woman with her bag and assisted a young mother with a sleeping child. These small acts of kindness were nothing special to Jackie, but they spoke volumes about who he was as a person. Henry noticed something in himself that he hadn't seen before, a growing humility, a sense of understanding. At the baggage claim, Henry approached Jackie one last time, pulling out his business card. "I'd like to help you with your charitable work," Henry said sincerely. "If you ever need anything, please contact me. I'd be honored to support what you're doing." Jackie accepted the card with both hands, bowing slightly in respect. "Thank you, Henry," he said kindly. "But perhaps the best way you can help is by remembering this flight. Remember that true first class isn't about where you sit on a plane. It's about how you treat people in every moment of your life." As they shook hands goodbye, Henry stood for a moment watching Jackie walk away. He glanced at his own reflection in the glass window of the baggage claim area. He was still wearing his expensive suit, but something had changed. He didn't look the same. The arrogance that once filled his eyes had been replaced by a quiet humility, a recognition that success wasn't about outward appearances, it was about how you treated others and the impact you had on the world. Later that day, Henry found himself driving to the small restaurant where his parents had worked when they first came to the country. He hadn't visited in years, too embarrassed to return to his roots. But this time he walked through the door with a smile on his face, a real smile, one that wasn't trying to impress anyone. "Yes, it's me," he said to the owner, who remembered him from childhood. "I've come home to remember where I started." And somewhere, Jackie Chan was still making the world a better place, one small act of kindness at a time, showing that greatness wasn't about how people treated you, it was about how you treated others. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.